Hello everyone, I am Ajita. I am a developer advocate engineer at Zoom. Today, you will see me building a simple Android application using Zoom's Video SDK. For those who don't know what is Video SDK, it is a fully customizable software development kit provided by Zoom. It allows you to integrate Zoom's core technology into your own product or platform. You'll gain access to audio, video, screen sharing, live streaming, raw data, and wide range of features. With few lines of boilerplate code, you'll be able to write a fully functional software product using Zoom's Video SDK. To know more about Video SDK, please click on the link given in the description below. Now, in this video, we will see how to create an Android application project, how to integrate Zoom's SDK kit into it, how to initialize the SDK, how to write your own JWT authentication module, how to integrate the basic features like audio, video, screen share, etc. Alright, let's start coding.
Let's begin by downloading the VSDK package. Click on Develop, Build Video SDK. Select the platform for which you want to download the Video SDK. There are a couple of platforms. I am selecting Android for my project. There is release notes as well. Click on Download button to download the package. Wait for the download to get completed. And once the download is completed, we will go and explore the contents of the SDK package. The download is now completed. Let me extract the package. There are three AAR library files included in this package. The first one is mobilertc.aar. It constitutes the basic functionalities of the video SDK like audio, video, etc. The next one is videoeffects.aar. You'll be importing this when you're using virtual background feature. Next one is zmonitor.aar. You'll be using this when you want to use annotation feature of Zoom. You also have a sample embedded inside the library package. This can be imported in Android Studio for execution. This is written in Android Java. Let's create a new Android project and import the library package into it. I'm selecting no activity, giving a name for my application, selecting language as Java because I'm comfortable with it, selecting Groovy DSL and finishing it. My project is now getting ready. I'm changing to project view so that locating the files is easier. I'm checking the build tab. Build is successful. I'm going to check the Java folder package. It is empty because I selected no activity. Now let me create a new module, that is my new directory to import my library package, naming it as mobilertc. Copy pasting the AR package and build.gradle into it so that my library module is ready. Next I'm going to import it in the settings.gradle so that it will be included in the build. Include mobilertc. As a next step, I'm going to include the library in my build.gradle as well so that I can reference it in my Java project. Implementation project mobilertc. Now we are ready to use the classes in my library package. Let me give a Gradle sync and make sure the build is successful so that I can proceed further with the imports. Now I'm going to create a new launcher activity for my project activity, and let me select empty views activity. There are a lot of templates in the gallery, but let me select the empty views activity because it is very comfortable to start with. Next, let me give a name for the activity and select it as launcher activity. Select the language as Java and finish it. Now the file is ready. My launcher activity is ready. And you can see it is extending app combat activity. Let us begin by adding some drawable files and values file from the sample app embedded along with the SDK. So let me copy the drawable folders from the sample app and let me paste it in the resource folder here. So as you see, there are different densities drawables. So no DPI, XHDPI and XHDPI. Similarly, I'm going to copy all the values files as well. And I'm going to paste it here. So strings.xml, it is replaced. And drawable, there are a couple of drawables here. Values, we can see attribute values and color values, dimensions, strings used in the project, and the styles. Styles contains all the theme details. So there's something called app theme here. So I'm going to set my app theme to the theme that is used in the sample application. So I'm setting my app theme here. And now let me go to the main activity and start designing my launcher screen. The default has some constant layout. I'm going to remove it and keep a simple layout with a button. I have a text view and a button, join session button, on clicking which I'll be able to join the session. Now let me write some code logics. The first step is to initialize the SDK. So I'll copy paste my init SDK method here, and let me write the definition of the init SDK as well. It has a couple of lines of code, and let me import the headers as well, all the missing headers, so that it will be easy for us to navigate through. So let me add all my headers. Yes, I see one unresolved header here. It contains error message util class, so I'm creating a new package called utils, and I'm going to create a file called error message util. It's a class which has mapping for all the error messages that we get from SDK. So the mapping and the corresponding error string is here. Whenever there's error, we'll be able to map it. I'm going to correct my header here, and yeah, that's it. I'm done. Here's the init SDK method. I have initialized all the necessary parameters. I have selected the device to be Google Pixel, selected the app, and executing it. And tada! You see the main launcher activity here with the join session button. We are all good with the first step. Let us get the JWT token now. So I'm going to create a new file named jwtgenerator.java. Okay, I'm done with creating new class. Now let's go to the documentation page and see how to create a JWT token. So I'm going to authorization page. I'm seeing the sample header part of the JWT token, and then we have the payload part where the complete payload is constructed, and then we have the signature part where we enter the secret. The sample JWT token looks like this. There's also a sample code given here, the Node.js sample code. So I'm going to reuse the same to write my own JWT generator server. So there's a generate signature method, there's a header construction, there's payload as well. And yeah, this is using JSR assign library from npm. So I'm installing that library and then going to use that for my JWT signature generating. It's always better to write the JWT generator logic as a web app, because it is not safe to write it in the client side because it is exposing the credentials. So I'm writing it in my web app. So I'm just pasting the logic. It's a post request, HTTP post request, and I've imported all the necessary headers. And it returns the signature as a JSON object. Okay, it listens in the port number 4000. So there's a readme file here as well. You can read it to see how to install the web app and deploy the same. And we need to write the credentials in .env file. This is the format for writing the credentials. Okay, so we are ready with the web app. I'm going to create a new terminal and run the web app. npm start. So it starts in the port number 4000. Okay, I'm going to do a port forwarding using ngrok, so that I'll get a HTTPS URL to put it in my mobile app. Okay, so port number is here and ngrok URL is also ready. I'm going to copy the ngrok URL for my JWT generator class. Let us now fill in all the required parameters for the JWT generation. So we need to have a sample session name, then password for the sample session, and a sample user identity and a sample role as well. These are required for the payload construction. And then I'm pasting the ngrok URL that I've just copied from the console. And then I'll just create a progress dialog to let the end user know while we are fetching the token, so that he'll be notified that the token is being fetched and wait for the token fetch to be completed. And then we need activity context. So I'm going to create an activity context here and keep it. So from wherever we are calling, we need to send the result back to the caller. So we need a context from the caller in order to return the values. And then let me add the payload structure as well. So the payload format will be similar to what we have seen in the web page. So the JSON payload structure is ready here. We have a sample session name, role, identity, and password embedded along with the payload. Okay, as shown in the website. The next step is to create a constructor for the JWT generator. So by using this constructor, I'll be sending my activity context. And then we have on pre-execute method where I'll start the showing of progress dialog. Yeah, it has to extend the async task. I messed it out. So any HTTP operation should be done in a background task and not in the UI thread. So I'm just making this JWT generator as a async task in order to invoke the HTTP method. This is to avoid any ANRs. Okay. Let me implement all the unimplemented methods, that is do in background. I'm going to write logic for my HTTP call here. It's a HTTP post call. Okay. So yeah, I have my URL here. HTTP request method is post and the body content is JSON. Of course, our payload is in JSON format and it will return a string value. And of course, it will come to my on post execute method where I will just parse the JSON data and print it in my log statement. In future, we'll be sending it back to the caller, but now for this at this moment, I'm just adding a log statement so that we can verify if the JWT construction is successful. Here's the log statement. The parsing is done, log statement is ready. Now let me call the JWT generator async task now from my main activity. So JWT generator gen is equals to new JWT generator and my activity context is being passed here. And then let me execute the async task. All good now. Okay, we'll wait and watch the log statement. I'm saving the file. Let me run the app. There'll be a progress dialog coming up here. Yes, the progress dialog was shown. That JWT fetch is completed. Let me go to logcat. Yes, I have my JWT ready. I've copied the value. Let me go to jwt.io method where I'll just paste the value and you can see the payload is all good now. We have successfully created the JWT token in this module. I'll delete these lines from here and use it in join session activity. Let us now write logic for joining the session. So here you see the join button needs go to join method. So let me introduce go to join method. So public void go to join to handle my join session transition, screen transition view. And I'm just going to invoke an intent which will open a new activity. The activity's name is join session activity. So now I'm going to create an activity named join session activity from my gallery using Java source language. It is automatically generating me a layout file as well. Layout file is activity join session. Let me now first design the layout file and then start writing code logic to join the session. This is a default layout file. I'm going to design a new layout to get the inputs from the end user to join the session. All the session parameters will be received as an input from end user. As you see here, we have a back button which is also called as cancel button here, and then there's a title of the screen, and then we have a session name edit text, and then we have username edit text, and then we have password edit text. We will get all the details, and then there's a create button which will help us in creating or joining a session. If the session is already existing, we will join the session, else create. Let me initialize all the views here so that I can use it in the further transitions. Let me initialize the variables required for views. So all good. Now I have initialized all my views and the variables. Okay, now I see a red line because I didn't implement the view on click listener. So I'm done with that. And it says I'm missing some methods. So I'm going to implement the methods on click. So this is for the back button. So when we click on the cancel button, we need to go back to the previous screen. So on click of the cancel button, now I'm going to write logic to go back to the previous screen, that is on back pressed. Okay, the activity stack management will take care of the back press operation. Now let me write the on resume callback. This is for handling the edit text values. So I want to set the selection and focus properly. So I've implemented the on resume method here. Okay, now we see create button and it says I need on click join session is required for the implementation. So I'm going to write on click join function and write and see what I need to do to join the session successfully. Okay, let me write the logics for on click join session. The first step in on click join session is to uh, call another method like join or create a session, because I want to call this method in different places, that is when the permissions are granted and then uh, in other resume activities as well. So I'm creating a new method to handle the join operation. Now let me write all the permissions required for joining the session and for the ongoing meeting as well. So I'm pasting all the required permissions from my sample application to this application. So now I need to write logic for invoking the permissions and handling the grant result of the permission from the end user. So in order to successfully create a meeting session, we need to handle all the permissions and we need to get the grant from the end user. If we miss any permission, then the application will not function as expected. So permissions are very important. So there's a variable called has to know that whether I'm already in a session. So that variable is handling the state of the session. Writing logic to handle the permission requirements now. So on permission granted, so request permission, and on permission result, on permission granted what has to happen. So on permission granted we need to start the session obviously. So join or create the session. Now let's write logic for joining or create the session. So we'll be handling all the prerequisites and before joining the session. First I'm checking if I'm already in a session. So if has in join or create. So if I'm already in session, let me just return without creating a new session. Next step is to check the permission acceptance from the end user. So I'm going to request the permission, and if it is not accepted, return. Next step is I'm just checking if the initialization is successful. Okay, so if the get instance is not null, it means the initialization is successful. If it is not initialized, return from my block. And the next check is to see if to retrieve all the variables printed by the end user and do a validation of the all variables. I'm just seeing if session name is not empty. If session is not empty, we cannot proceed because it is a mandatory parameter. And then I'm seeing the username is empty or not. If it is empty, I'm taking the phone's build model as the username. Next, I'm checking password string. Password string can be empty, so there's no check for that. And then there are some session context we need to create in order to join the session. So I'm initializing all the session context. This is where you will set the audio and video options to join the session. So all the mute conditions and video on sessions conditions will be handled in this block. Now finally the token has to be generated and it has to be set in the session context as well. Session context dot token is equal to the token that I generated through my JWT generator. The next step is now to join the session. Write logic to join the session using Zoom's SDK method. So Zoom's video session is equals to get instance dot join session using the session context. If session object is not null, it means the session is created successfully. And I'm setting has in join or created true, which means I am already in a session now. Okay, and then we can write code to navigate to meeting screen. Okay, in this section, we will just validate if the session is not null and if the session is created successfully. Let me write a log statement so that I can confirm if the session is not null. Log.d sample and session created, session joined successfully. Okay, I'm all good now. I can run this application and see if I'm able to join the video SDK session. Okay, there are some errors. Okay, let me fix with the lint and okay, all good now. Let me try to run the application and see if I'm running into any issues and I'm getting the desired log statement. Run the project, wait for that launch to get completed. Once it is launched, click on the join session button. So give the session name which is provided during the JWT creation. So sample 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are my parameters given while creating the JWT token. And then I press join session button and here comes all the permission requirements. So I grant all permissions and on permission granted will be invoked where I have written logic to join the session. And finally, I get a statement saying session joined successfully. It means I have successfully joined the VSDK session. The next step is to create the in-meeting screen and complete the navigation logic to the meeting screen. Okay, so the meeting screen looks like this. There's a big video container covering the screen. On top left, we have placeholders to store the session name and participant count. On top right, we have leave button to leave the screen. Then we have a toolbar which has buttons to mute and unmute the audio, start and stop the screen share, and start and stop the video. Bottom side, we have containers to store the self video and remote participants video. After starting the screen share, we'll be getting a stop share button which will help to end the sharing of screen from outside the application. So this is how the meeting screen looks like. Let's go ahead and design this meeting screen and the corresponding functionalities. Let's create few packages or services to support the in-meeting operations. The first package is the notification package. It has class to display and control the foreground service and associated notification. The next package is share screen package. It helps in controlling the actions of the share toolbar. The next package is views package, which helps in holding the custom view files. Okay, so we are done with package creations. We'll also create an application class which returns the application context. We would need this mainly during the screen share. Let's go ahead and also update the application name in the Android manifest as well. Okay. Here it extends application class and I write a method called get instance which returns the application context. Okay, in Android manifest file there is an application tag which has a name parameter and we will update that application class name here. Okay, we are done. Now let's write logic to control the in-meeting service which is called as notification service here. It is a foreground service. We all know that foreground service is associated with the persistent notification, and Android has updated the notification behavior across the versions. So we have also written a notification manager class to control the notification states across different functions. Okay, so this notification manager plays an important role in handling the states of the notification and the life and of course the life cycle of the notification as well. Okay, So we're getting the notification service, we're starting the foreground service on start command. These are all the lifecycle methods of the service, and we have completed the logics for the lifecycle methods. Let me complete notification manager as well. And yeah, based on the OS version, the logic for showing the notification varies. We also have a notification channel to satisfy Android versions. Okay, notification ID, channel ID. Okay, count notification. Looks like we are done with the notification code logics, and we are using notification combat class to show the notification. Okay, we are done. As a next step, let me create few activities required for the project to be executed. Okay, the first activity would be the meeting activity. We have already seen the design for our meeting activity. Let me create the corresponding activity file for that, and let Android generate the layout file for it automatically. Okay, I'm going to load my file system changes, and I'm just validating if everything looks good. Okay, and then I'll go and save my progress in order to make sure I'm not losing anything. Okay, and I'll be adding my next activity. It is called as integration activity. When we navigate the screens from our application to the desktop and back and forth, from screen sharing for in order to perform the screen share, we have an intermediate activity which is named as integration activity to make sure the transition is proper. I am checking my Android manifest file to make sure like all the activities are mentioned and I'm not missing anything. We have created notification service and it also has to be mentioned in the manifest file. So I'm going to update the manifest file with the notification service details. Okay. So I'm going to add the service tag, service name, mention the notification service name. Okay. And exported, I set it to true. And it is a foreground service type. So I'm going to mention, and going to use it for media projection and microphone operations. So I'm mentioning media projection and microphone here, and I'm closing the service tag. Okay, now the manifest file looks complete. I'm going to save my progress. My meeting activity is ready now. So let me add code to navigate to meeting screen in my join session activity. Okay, so I'm going to create a new intent and send the session parameters to my meeting activity so that the meeting activity has access to session name, password, and the username as well. So the navigation is now ready. I'm going to complete coding the integration activity first. It is simple compared to the meeting activity. So it is used during the screen share navigation back and forth from the application and outside the application. So let me write an action return to conference here. So I'm mentioning the action and I'm going to navigate to meeting activity when I come back from the share screen operation. Return to conf, and I'm setting the flag to reorder to front. If in case if it is already present activity, then it will be reordered to the front in the task backstack. Okay, now it all looks good. Integration activity doesn't need a layout file, so I have deleted it. Now next, let us begin by designing our meeting activity. You have already seen the UI of the meeting activity. So let us design the layout for the meeting activity. Let me begin by adding my own code to the layout file activity underscore meeting.xml. It contains the frame layout which is named as big underscore video underscore contain. It acts as a placeholder to hold the video which covers the entire screen. So this is the primary view that you will be seeing in the meeting layout. Next comes the linear layout on top left, which is a placeholder for the session name as well as the participant count. So as you see, there's a session name and also a participant count here. This is the top left view. Both are text views and I'll be updating it from the Java file. We have now designed the top left layout. Okay. Now next comes the top right layout, which contains the end meeting button. It is also a text view with leave text. So as you see here, it's in the top right with red color text there. We have designed that as well. Next we have a view to control the share operation once started. Then we have a video list container layout, which is having a recycler view in order to hold the self video view as well as the remote participants video view. And then we have a include layout, which is having the action bar items like all the three buttons on the right side. We'll also see the code for that as well. And then we have a stop share button, which is controlling the share operation once started. Okay, now let us see the action bar layout. As you can see, it is on the right side, three buttons, the corresponding code. We have a scroll view and we have three image views and corresponding on click operations, one for audio, one for share and one for video. Okay, so the UI layout is not complete. Meeting activities layout is now set and all ready. Now we can run the project and see how it looks like before writing the functionalities. Okay. Okay, join session. I'm going to give session name as sample and password as 12345 and join session. Here you go. The meeting layout screen is now ready. Here comes the crucial part. Let us begin by implementing the Zoom Video SDK delegate methods. There are a lot of callback methods which helps us in controlling our application's behavior when the session is in progress. Some examples are on user join session, on user leave session, on error, etc. We can handle only the callbacks which we are interested in and leave all the other callbacks empty. For now, I'll import all the empty stubs for our callback methods. Okay, so and in future, whenever we need, we can write the functionalities for each of these callback methods. Well, now as a next step, I'll implement the functionality for action toolbar items as well. As you remember, we have three buttons in the right side toolbar. Their corresponding on-click action callbacks are on-click video, on-click audio, and on-click share. In each of these methods, we will call Zoom's SDK methods. SDK shall do the necessary job for us. We need not worry about extensive coding required to communicate with the hardware devices. As you see, we call start video in on-click video button. So if the video is already started, we will stop it. Otherwise, we will start the video. Next comes on-click audio. Here we call unmute audio and mute audio, which are all SDK methods. We will let the SDK do the job for us. Next comes on-click share. So in this, when we click on share button, we'll be prompted to accept the screen overlay permission because we have a stop share button which requires us to draw on other screen apart from application's own screen as well. So we'll be handling the permission here, and there's something called sharing out and stop share methods, which are all SDKs methods, which will be implementing it here. Next comes on click end button. Here we unsubscribe to all the remote participants video and leave the session. Let me complete the coding of this file and go through the code. Our activity screen shall also implement the share to bar listener for handling the share operation callback methods and user view adapters on item tab listener as well. We have then included all the lifecycle methods of the activity like on pause, on resume. In on pause, we unsubscribe from receiving the remote participants video. Similarly, we'll resubscribe to the remote participants video when we resume the activity. We will also refresh the complete screen when we resume the activity. In on destroy, we are not leaving the session, but we are just removing the listeners. In on finish callback also, we are not ending the call but only kill the activity. With the help of foreground service, it is our choice to keep the session running. Then comes the Android methods on activity result and all other corresponding methods. And then comes on configuration change to where we handle the configuration change, and then comes on new intent and then parse intent to handle the screen navigation during the screen share operations. There are a couple of initialize methods as well. We shall handle the initialization of the meeting screen views. In the init meeting method, we shall be initializing the meeting by creating the video canvas and by subscribing to the remote participant's video, if any. We need a persistent service running with the ongoing session. Android demands a foreground service to be created in order to perform call operations and screen share operations. We have also implemented the delegate methods here as you see in the screen. So we have on session leave, on session join, and we have added the corresponding code logics for the same. In on error, we unsubscribe from all the subscribed videos. In on user join, we do refresh the user list adapter and call the adapters user join method. In on user leave, we do call adapters on user leave method and update the session information and do the subscribe or unsubscribe operations accordingly. We then have on user video state change, which is invoked when the remote participant's video state is changed. Then we have on user audio state changed, which is invoked when the remote participant's audio state is changed. And there are a lot of other callback methods in which we would be interested in, and we'll be handling the actions accordingly based on our needs. We have a lot of on-click methods here. So all the click operations in the meeting screen will be handled through these on-click methods. Then we have a lot of subscription and unsubscription methods as well. These are to subscribe and unsubscribing the self video and remote videos accordingly. There are two types of canvas. One is share canvas and one is video canvas. Video canvas is where you will see the participant's video. Share canvas is where you will see the participant's screen. So both the share canvas will be subscribed and unsubscribed accordingly based on need. We have UI related methods as well. So we are handling all the utility methods. And there's something called show desktop, which is used to navigate to desktop when screen share is performed. With this, we complete the coding of meeting activity screen. So now we will be adding certain view adapter files and certain helper classes as well. First, I'll be adding the user helper classes, which will help me to get all the users, and it returns the list of Zoom Video SDK user objects. And then we have a bug helper class, which helps me to handle the errors in Android OS in different versions during the screen overlay permission asks. And then I'll go and add the share toolbar file as well. It helps me to control the visibility and the actions in the share toolbar when we start and stop the screen share operation. Let me add the missing layout files as well. The first one is share toolbar file, which will help me to design a layout to stop the screen sharing when the screen sharing is started. So you can see a red color button in any screen in Android phone to stop the screen share. The next one is user view layout file. This is the view put in recycler view to handle the self view as well as the remote participants view. Okay, now we are all set to run the application. Let me run the app. It says application is launched successfully. Let me open my Visor app to see what's happening in my phone. Here you go, my app is running. Let me enter the session details and join the session. It says we are connecting. Meanwhile, let me bring up my web client to show the interaction. The status is connecting. Yes, the status is now connected and you can see the session name and participant count in top left view. Let me join from the web client as well. I'm pressing the join button. Keep observing the recycler view in the bottom of my Android phone. You can see the participants view getting changed. Yes, you can see the Chrome participant also appearing. Let me see if my video from phone is visible in browser. Ta-da! It is visible. I'll join audio from the web client. After joining the audio, you can see the new icon beside the pixel participant to indicate the audio status. Let me try to mute and unmute and see if the icon changes accordingly. Yes, it does. Similarly, let me demonstrate the video operations as well. It works as expected. Let's also test the share screen operation. Now you can see the pixel screen in my web client. You can also click the video in the recycler view to see the video in the larger container. Let me start the web client's video to see if it appears in my pixel app and then perform the click operation in the recycler view item. Yes, my video is appearing. I can switch the self video and participants video. Yes, it works fine as expected. I'll now terminate the video from web client. Yes, it is working fine as expected and as it per our design. I'll now leave the session. It says meeting is ended. Yes, because I have selected host as my role while creating the JWT token. This completes my tutorial on the video SDK.
That's it. Wasn't that easy? Thank you all for joining. Please click on the links given in the description below to know more about the product. If you run into any issues, feel free to contact us via developer forum. See you all later. Happy coding!